Hi friends, it's me, Mr. Wilson, and I'm here with Chapter 12, Lesson 5. So today we're going to be learning about drawing and analyzing line plots. So last year we worked with some line plots where we drew X's above the numbers to interpret our data. A line plot uses X's above a number line to show how often the data occurs. So for every number or shape or color or animal, food, whatever, you put a line in X for each time that was voted for, okay? So we have this spinner up here, and it has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There should be a, oh, nope, yep, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Albert spun the spinner 16 times to see how often the spinner landed on each number. Display the data in the line plot. So here in this chart is the numbers he landed on. So there's 16 boxes and 16 different numbers. So each time he spun it, he wrote down that number in a box until he did it 16 times. So once we have that data, we're supposed to draw and label a line plot to include all the values of the data and give it a title. So we want to include the numbers 0 to 4 because that's what our spinner includes. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are all the options. And then you're gonna put the same title as you had on this graph. So this chart is going to tell us what numbers were spun, okay? So numbers spun, numbers spun, numbers spun. That's your title on all three. After you draw and label your line plot, which they did here for us, you are supposed to draw an X above the number for each result. Complete the line plot by drawing the remaining X's. So in this chart, you can see, first of all, if you haven't already ripped out page 715 to 720, go ahead and do so before we start writing. I normally used to tell you to do that earlier and I forgot. So as you can see, there are already some green X's here. We need to go up into our chart here at the top, the orange one, and mark out those what the X's already represent. So there's 1, 0 that's been recorded. So I need to mark out 1, 0 so I know I don't need to draw an X for that. However, there's 1, 0, 2 zeros that haven't been drawn. So I need to draw 2 more X's and then I can mark them out because I drew them. Okay, so then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 above the number 1, so I need to mark out 4 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's still 1, 2, 3, 4 ones left, so I need to draw 4 more X's. 2, 3, 4, and then I need to mark them out. And then we have 1, 2, 3 twos. 1, 2, 3. And I don't have any other twos left, so my twos are done. And let's see, I have 1, 3. And then I also have 1, 4. So when you count up your X's, you should get however many numbers you had up here. So he spun it 16 times, so there were 16 numbers, so I should have 16 X's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we're good with our data down there. Now we need to look at our line plot and we need to decide what sentence we want to write that interprets this data. And I'm going to write number 1 was spun more than any other number, period. Okay, so that's how I'm going to answer that question. Because you can tell that number 1 had more numbers spun than any other one. You could also put that number 0 and number 2 were tied, spun the same amount of times. You could say 3 and 4 were spun the same amount of times. just as long as your sentence is true about our graph. Okay? So once you've done that, turn your page to page 716. So we need to use the graph, the line plot that they made, to interpret the data. So use Albert's line plot to find the difference between greatest number of x's and the least number of x's. Find the number spun most often. So which one of our numbers was spun the most? Number 1 was spun the most often. How do you know? We know because the greatest, I can't even spell greatest. Oh, hopefully you're writing in pencil. Greatest number of x's is above 1. So how do we know? Because the greatest number of x's are above number 1. How many times was the number 1 spun? So we need to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times. So now step 2 wants us to find the number spun least often. So our least were these numbers because they both tied with 1. So what numbers were spun the least often? 3 and 4. How many times were each of those numbers spun? So how many x's do they have? 3 has 1 and 4 has 1. So they were each spun 1 time. So now it wants us to find the difference between the greatest number of x's and the least number of x's. So we should have 8 minus 1, because that's how many times 3 and 4 were spun, equals 7. So the difference between the greatest number of x's and the least number of x's is 8 minus 1 equals 7. Okay, so on the front we made our own line plot and we answered a question. This time they gave us the line plot and we had to interpret the data. Okay, you're going to be doing both. Now on our guided practice, they give us the chart and we have to make the line plot. They already gave us the numbers. We just need to graph. Okay. So 0 and 1 aren't even on our chart, so we don't need to worry about them. So how many letters in the siblings' names is there? 2 letters. There's only 1 because there's 1 tally mark. I'm going to put a little check mark by it so I know that we're done. 3, there's 0 tally marks, so I don't need to do anything. Check it off. 4, there's 1, 2, so I'm going to put 2 x's. Check it off. 5, there's 1, 2. Check it off. 6, there's 1. Check it off. 7, there's 2. Check it off. Okay, so that's all they wanted you to do. It says display the set of data in the line plot. They had the line plot and we displayed it. Okay. So now what you need to do, you need to go ahead and work independently on page 717. Do your independent practice. So you need to fill out this chart. You need to, it says draw one conclusion. So interpret the data. What's one thing you can interpret? 3 and 4 have to do with this line plot. Okay. You can choose to do page 718 if you want to, but you do not have to. It's not mandatory. And then 719 and 720 are your homework. I would really love for you to do it, but if you don't, it's not mandatory either, but I just think it would be great to have extra practice since we're not together. Okay, so that's lesson 5. once you get done with your lesson, today's IXLs are U9 and U10. So you will be responsible for getting through U9 and U10, which are about line plots. Okay? In tomorrow's video, you'll notice we're in a different lesson. But besides that, reminder, I'm available via email, Facebook Remind if you guys have questions or need help with anything. I love you guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye.